Welcome back live to the Pro Football Pod. We got the boys, Austin, Justin, and Coach.
What's up, guys?
We're in the preseason. Week one's in the books. How we doing?
Yeah.
How we feeling?
Football is actually back, baby.
It's
There was some
preseason,
jam-packed highlights coming out of that preseason, though.
week
That,
one.
out,
So
out of
you're
players you want to see popping.
either winning the Super Bowl or you suck again, and you're getting the first pick. Like there's overreactions both ways from every fan base. Like nobody's really in the middle. But that's preseason. That's what you're gonna get.
We've seen so few actual starters playing that it's kind of crazy. I think that the joint practices, as like a general concept, has allowed the teams to get so much work in the practice that they see how they match up against the players in individual drills and all that stuff, that the actual game doesn't matter as much. I think that they need to start televising the joint practices, because as a fan I would go back and watch the highlights of the joint practices if they
100%.
gave it to me. And that's a product that they could potentially sell with this new NFL Network, $15 a month. I mean, that's another thing that they could put on it.
It's just that's giving too much film out there for all the other teams, isn't it?
It's
Like, that's
already
kind of like
being
a thing that
recorded,
they
though.
come together, though.
If the media is allowed to be there, then it's already able to be recorded in some way. And I get the whole trying to keep it a secret thing, but we live in the digital age. It's getting more and more impossible for that to even be possible. Now, do you guys have any takeaways from week one? Any players that you saw that, showed you something fantasy relevant? Like, not just to make the team better, but anybody that you saw that kind of popped a little bit for you?
I think we got to talk about Jordan Addison.
Okay, from
That
Minnesota.
catch. Yes, sir. That catch on
The
the
catch
sidelines, a little tiptoe.
That wasn't a catch.
The catch that wasn't a catch, but should have been a catch.
I mean,
That is
I
just
saw-
impressive. That's what we wanted to see out of him, and then we definitely saw it. So, like,
to be inches away from it being a catch, I mean, that's exactly where we want to be. I've been talking about it a long time that I hate that college has the 1 foot rule, because I think that it's a crutch that these players are able to get away with practicing and getting used to 1 foot being able to be down and it counting, that like they should be training for 2 feet the whole time, so that whenever a rookie comes in like Addison, he already knows where that sideline is. He's already more developed to that.
on that topic, don't you think they should be playing with the same ball?
Yes, I think as many things the same as possible, the same type of helmets, the same type of pads, like it should be, because college football is semi-pro football at this point. Like, it's such a good product. It's so competitive. What about you, Justin? Did you have anybody that you want me to draft for one round in front of you?
Off of preseason week one, no.
Yeah, I know that there's not a lot. So you
It's-
didn't see anything?
Well, I mean,
I know I saw one player.
is you do see some things to where it's like, okay, you've got like Quentin Johnson. People were dogging him for his drops and stuff like that. And that's
That was-
where,
okay.
like
that
I was
hurt.
telling Austin, you've got Jamar Chase in his preseason dropped 4
I
out
remember.
of his 5 targets.
I
Dropped in all the
told
fantasy
I
drafts,
passed on him
everything.
for Waddle because of all those drops. I said, you know
Exactly.
what? He might not be the guy, blah, blah, blah. And it was a way overreaction. So I hear you.
So it's things like that to where, like, not necessarily, oh, well, you need to draft Quentin Johnson because of that, but that shouldn't like deteriorate any kind of value that he
It shouldn't
has
deter you. Exactly.
at all. Because I mean, like I said, it's preseason. They're still getting a feel for it. They're getting a feel for actual NFL game style, actual NFL game speed out on the field. Like, so many things are going through these dudes' heads, especially these rookies and these young dudes. Like, NFL stadium, it's not packed out and stuff, but you're dressing for the first time. You're walking out, like the chills you would get. Like, you'd want to
Mhm.
throw up just simply because of like an out of body experience. So, like, to me, it's preseason week one. I wouldn't take too much about it, especially because most starters aren't really playing. Like, you've got Justin Fields. He threw 3 passes for 129 yards. They traveled a total of like 6 yards, and everybody was either freaking out about it or they were absolutely shitting on him. And for me, it was just Yeah, Justin Fields, he's probably going to get more screen action this year because they should, because he was forced to throw downfield too much last year. But running those deep routes is what opens up the running lanes and allows him to have 1,000 yards rushing. So I mean, what do you want? He's going to improve as a passer.
With
Don't dog him
the
on the
screen
screens.
game, the screen game's going to help him because of his legs. I mean, the fact that the D linemen have to decide: am I going to rush Justin Fields and leave this back open and leave him to a single linebacker to cover him, or am I going to have to pull off because and they have a great backfield at this point.
Well,
Well,
and
I guess they've got Herbert.
we talk about Shanahan and Andy Reid. Their teams lead the league in yards after catch every single season. Do you know how many screens I watch Patrick Mahomes throw in a game? He throws at least 6 to 7.
That's where whenever people start shitting on everyone on Twitter, I could care less. Those people are all idiots. That's why you shouldn't listen to them and you should listen to us instead. Now, a player that did pop out to me, because what I'm looking for in week 1 of preseason is I'm looking for game speed. Is this player look like whenever they play against other NFL caliber players that they can't keep up, or that they look lost, or that they just in general aren't playing the game at a high level, even though they're playing against third and fourth stringers? Or are they looking like they're in college still and they're the best player on the field? Devin Achane only got 2.5 yards a carry, but he got 10 yards of reception, 4 catches for 40 yards, and one of them went for like 25. The guy was a legitimate lightning bolt out of the backfield. Great hands, catching the ball at the point. He didn't even have Tua thrown in the ball, so he wasn't getting that great timing. I think that he stood out a lot as a player that being drafted as RB 40 something is, I mean, that's a lot of value if the guy's actually going to get utilized in the passing game, because it's only going to take 3 or 4 catches for him to have value, especially at that type of draft position.
Yeah, and those are the dudes you're looking for, is the guys that can pop off big plays anytime they touch the ball.
Exactly.
I do like that. Like, his speed is not to be messed with.
He's the fastest player on the Dolphins potentially. Tyreek and Waddle have been talking about him like, man, that guy's lightning in a bottle. So that could be media, that could be them just trying to pump him up because he's the new rook and he's supposed to be the fast guy, or he could be an actual. It could be one of those guys that this is the last year that you get him for a steal. That backfield's terrifying. I don't really want to mess with it, but all of them are being drafted right around running back like 41 to 46.
He's the one I would take a chance on.
Exactly. He's the one that has the most boom
he's the
potential.
Rookie coming in, and we know his speed.
Yeah,
I was really liking what I saw out of Deuce Vaughn for the Cowboys. That man was shifty. Did you guys see any of his?
In practice, I've seen him. I didn't see his actual game film.
He just implemented it right into the game, like twisting people's ankles. It was so nice.
Because the shiftiness,
so small too. Like, he can hide behind those linemen so easily. Like, as a linebacker, you're literally just sitting there waiting for him to pop out somewhere. Like, because you can't see him. Like, your average height of your lineman is 6'3". He's what, 5'7", 5'6"?
Literally, he might be the smallest player in the league right now.
Now, the reason that he's getting all these opportunities is because the Cowboys cut Zeke months ago, and we've all been speculating. And at one point, we did say the Patriots seemed like a potential because of their run-first offense. I think that of all the places he could have gone, the Patriots were likely just going to give him the most money. Only $3 million with guaranteed, with $6 million in incentives. So it's a good contract for the team, and it's a good contract for him. Everyone's kind of already freaking out because of like him taking a little bit less money, but he's not going to be the RB1. Ramondre Stevenson is, and even then it's going to be this committee. He is going to be the red zone back, though. I like him in fantasy for that reason. Ramondre, in my opinion, took a big hit because his touchdown total went from 12 to 6 automatically. Like, he isn't going to get 12 touchdowns now.
Unless he breaks it open now.
And he just, you can't do that 12 times in a season.
Which he does.
Not
so
in the NFL
he's
today.
Nice. He's a flex guy now.
That's why I say 6. He's still going to be an RB2. but he was borderline RB1, like
Yeah.
right there
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of my RB1s, and now he's an absolute RB2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think and with the next one that we're about to touch on, I mean, first off, hey, we actually got news that broke the day we record instead of the day
Hey,
after. So kudos to us. How about that? But with Zeke going there and like I said, Dalvin now signing with the Jets as well, I think it's, these teams in the AFC East are realizing, when it comes down to these late games in the season and the playoff games, you're dealing in colder weather and you're going to need to have that stable of running backs and pound that. The Dolphins have gone the opposite way of we're just going to beat you with our speed and
yep,
just try to keep up. So, I mean, you're looking at
And
the power aspect that the Jets have now added with Dalvin and what Brees was giving them whenever he
will
comes
bring him
back
when he
fully
comes back.
healthy. And then the Patriots. And then, I mean, even the Bills, they signed Damian Harris from the Patriots in the offseason, and James
yep.
Cook is up and coming. So, I mean, these AFC East teams, like, I cannot wait. That's why we're saving that division for last, is just because of so much to talk on. There's fantasy value on every single team. Like even with the Patriots, there is value there.
Absolutely with the Patriots.
What,
There's a couple trap players, and that's why I'm excited to talk about it, because there's going to be some players that you're really going to want to take. But in reality, especially with Dalvin and Zeke getting signed, it just threw a big rock in that whole division.
Now, what I will say though,
How about Dalvin visiting each of those teams in that division?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
That's
four.
pretty wild.
yeah,
I
yeah, he
mean,
was playing in
it's
the
the
East
best
for
division
sure.
in football, and like if there was a division
Ah,
that's gonna put Pat Mahomes down, if there's a team that's built to take down Pat Mahomes, it's one of the four AFC East
That's
teams.
not the Bengals. You have the
Yeah,
AFC
true.
East and the Bengals.
Yeah,
Like, and my whole thing with the Dalvin going to the Jets is the Jets are going all in on this window with Aaron Rodgers. So it's
yep. They got 2
completely
years.
understandable. But I don't want to see Dalvin rep Miami. I don't want to see him talk about Miami anymore. I don't want to see.
Ever again? He's not a
I
fan.
know you. I know you're from
I heard.
Miami, but I don't want to see pictures of you in Miami having vacation and stuff. Nah, keep your ass in New York. You had
I
your
heard
chance. You
4
wanted
months
to come to
ago
the Dolphins. They just
that
didn't
he
want
was
to pay
coming to the
you the
Dolphins.
absolute bag that you wanted, and then you ended up only taking $8 million with the
And
Jets.
that
Like,
only is
I don't
$4
want to hear
million
it.
dollars in New
So,
York.
like, it's okay. He's ring chasing. I get it. You get to go play with the GOAT Aaron Rodgers. He's played against him his whole career. Now he gets to play with him. I get all of it.
I didn't even
But
think about that.
as
That's
a
cool.
fan, I'm spurned. So right now I'm a little salty about it. But I mean, shit, like I said, the Jets got the window and they're just diving in on it.
I
so
already didn't have a lot of love for Dalvin Cook because he went to FSU, but now this is like a Saban level, just
It's just
ugh.
betrayal.
Yes, that's what it feels like. I mean, that's not a fan. A fan would see that the Dolphins right now are more primed to take their team to a championship than ever before. And as a Dolphins fan, growing up his whole life, he would want to take that team. He's one of the pieces that they're missing. It's not like they have one of the best running backs in football and he's going to come in and be a backup. He's going to come in and lead the stable of awesome running backs already.
I haven't seen what the Dolphins' offer was. So for all we know, it was something like Zeke, to where it's, we'll give you like $4 million guaranteed, but then the rest is incentivized. And he's like, no, I don't want that. And so the Jets were like, no, we'll just give you $8 million because we've got it.
Yeah,
And
I
we're
mean,
just
why
going to sign
not
you
for
to
the
a
Jets?
1-year deal. But exactly, it makes sense for both parties. So I mean, I'll be salty about it for a little bit, but it's whatever. Now that just adds even more stuff for us to talk about whenever we get to the fantasy outlook for the the
AFC
AFC
East.
East. So I mean,
You
y'all
guys
got
ready to
anything
jump
else?
into it?
Let's jump in. I'm down. Let's go. You ready, Austin?
Let's hop in.
So we'll cover Vikings first.
Shit.
Yeah.
Call off the horn.
Sounded like the wire. Yeah, let's go. Let's skull, baby.
Skull.
Skull, baby.
Skull.
Justin Jefferson, ADP 1, wide receiver 1. I mean, if I was sitting at number 1 overall, I think that taking one of these top running backs is a little bit risky. We've been talking about it for weeks that we want a running back early. But if I'm in the first 3 picks, I think a running back might be too much of a risk, especially because of some of the running backs I can get at picks like 21, 22, 23. So
Think
I
about
think
last year. I
that
mean, there's so many running backs went down.
Justin Jefferson had a really slow start last year. It was his second season, and he slumped for the first 4 weeks, and then he exploded again, and he just looked like the best receiver in football, best young receiver in football. So I think it's
Also, a
silly
new
not to take
coach
him.
came in.
If he's sitting there at 2 because someone took Jamar Chase or Christian McCaffrey at 1, like you take him. If he's sitting there at 3, like he's the most draftable person on my list. He's absolutely my number 1 player.
Yeah, he's number 1 across the boards on all scales.
He's got to be. I mean, you can make an argument for Jamar Chase
Because of
but
Burrow.
yeah,
If he was a healthy Burrow right now, like
the issue is T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, the rest of the offense, like JJ, Jordan Addison, who's wide receiver 37. That's it. Like they got rid of Thielen. They got rid of the other guy that was taking targets.
And Cook. Got rid of Cook too.
Yeah,
yeah. Cook was their whole offense.
Backfield.
I went through and looked, and the Vikings literally have basically almost 1,000 yards that they need to hand out to other people this year. And
Hawkinson.
That's where, to me,
Addison.
Jefferson, he put up 1,800 yards last year, and Tyreek's talking about he's going for 2K. Jefferson might get close again this year because Kirk 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 92.5 quarterback rating. I mean, and Kirk's going ADP 103, quarterback 13 overall.
13? That's so disrespectful. I get that he's average, that
Great
he's
value.
Not, but it's such great. That's better than you ever got Phillip Rivers for.
He's a top 7 to 10 fantasy quarterback every year. Like
Easy.
That's what you're hoping for. Like plug and play. I can start Kirk and not have to worry unless it's a primetime game. And then I just trade him out for somebody for that game.
Straight up.
Honestly, like that's a really solid strategy for your quarterback, and it's easy to pull off. No one's going to be trying to take Kirk Cousins. Everyone's going to be trying to take Tua. They see this like boomer bust. These boomer bust guys. Dak's another one that if he can actually have a solid season and not throw so many picks, then where he's being drafted is actually very valuable because he's a veteran guy that's going to get the yards, he's going to get the touchdowns. You just lose points because of the picks sometimes. I think Addison, wide receiver 37, is right where I want my young guy. It's a rookie, so it still terrifies me. But with how these young guys have been coming in and balling right away, and with how good the Vikings offense looked last year, I think that they saw Addison as a plug and play. KJ Osborne wasn't quite getting it done. We need someone behind JJ, and Addison seems like the guy. I think he's got a lot of value. I think that 9th round,
8th or 9th round absolutely has value.
I mean,
like
that's flex. Or not flex. That's a backup.
Yeah, exactly. You're drafting him as one of your top bench guys, but he's probably going to end up giving you flex, if not wide receiver 2 type of production for your team. And so he's another one of those dudes of the mold of just the simple volume as to what the Vikings do in the passing game. Those target Thielen had over 90 targets last year. Those got to go to somebody. Like KJ Osborne isn't reaping all of those benefits. And I mean, Hawkinson, he dove into their value more than anyone's last year. So I don't see Addison affecting Hawkinson, and I don't really see Hawkinson affecting Addison either.
There's enough
so
to go
I'm
around.
with you there. Addison's one of those to where I'm in on almost all the first round rookie wide receivers this year. Like I like all their games. I love where all of them got drafted, but Addison, just because of the situation, and like I said, the sheer volume at which they pass the ball, he's absolutely probably one of the top wide receivers as far as the rookies. If not him, I would go Zay Flowers.
Well, so here's the big question, and whenever it comes to drafting a fantasy, it goes Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then Jordan Addison, and then it's Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnson. But like it's a big tier up for Jackson Smith. Like he's definitely higher up there for a lot of people. So like you were just saying you would get Jordan Addison before him though.
I
Well, because
think
my thing with Jackson Smith and even Quentin Johnson is there's
the
two
team.
other main
Yep.
mouths to feed. And not
Yeah.
even that, but Quentin Johnson, you've got Eckler who's looking at 85 to 100 targets out of the backfield as well.
I
Like, so
mean, 120
there's just
targets. He's going
not
to get
enough.
85 catches.
There's just not enough to go around on the Chargers for me to be in on Quentin Johnson, whereas Zay Flowers and Addison come in and they're at minimum wide receiver 2.
He is
Now,
my
if
favorite pick in that round.
in a dynasty, I think Njigba has the most value because of him as a player, right? He looks
Yeah.
like the best receiver in a dynasty. That's what you want to
Agreed.
look at. Team doesn't matter. All that stuff, the other stuff doesn't matter. We need to get the best player.
Lockett's got what 2 to 3 more solid seasons in him,
and DK Metcalf and him could both be like they could both play off of each other very well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if he is like they're saying, and he's the better of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and all these guys from OSU. Like if he ends up being the best of all of them, I mean, I think Dynasty he's one of my first rounders. I don't think I like receivers.
I don't think you can get better than Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson's legit, but Jackson Smith, the reason he gets hyped up is he is the best all-around wide receiver that Ohio State has put out in the last few years. Like, Olave is dope. Jamison Williams went to Ohio State for a little while. Dope. Garrett Wilson, dope. Like, all of these dudes, they're awesome. But Jackson Smith, there's a reason he was like the number 3 wide receiver and was one of the top dudes on the team in receptions, yards per receptions, touchdowns, total yards. Like the dude was just productive as hell. Like, so, and he just got glue for hands. The dude rarely drops the ball. So he's better all around. Whereas, yeah, Olave is probably a better athlete. Garrett Wilson is probably a better athlete. But Jackson Smith is able to run routes like a madman. Like his route running is elite. And in
Justin
quick
Jefferson
passing games, you need
Devontae
that elite
Adams,
route running. Hunter
all these
Renfro,
guys,
like Cooper
Hunter
Kupp, they've
Renfro.
made careers on this. Like
it's what
running
is the most important
at.
thing. Yeah.
And
I
Cooper
think even
Kupp
Jerry
was the comp I saw for Jackson Smith coming out. Not top end speed, great route running, great hands, and great football IQ.
Yep. Even Jerry Rice, that's what he was. He was a route runner. He wasn't. Randy Moss was I'm going to just run faster down the field and jump up higher and get it from you.
As soon as you snap it, I'm throwing my hand up and I just need you to launch it 50 yards down the field.
Exactly. I think KJ Osborne, ADP 178, wide receiver 63, is definitely a depth guy I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. He's on an offense that's going to be super productive. And he has to catch the ball sometime. Like, they need him because Addison has to develop along. Now, if KJ Osborne is a player that's on my list of people to try to trade immediately. As soon as I draft him, I'm looking for the week that he has a lot of value, and I'm just looking to get rid of him immediately. As soon as he pops off for 15 points, 20 points, 2 touchdowns, something like that, then I'm now trying to put him on somebody else, so that they can deal with him in the back end of the season. Because I think that Addison does develop in a similar way that Amon-Ra did, that by week 14, 15, 16, he can be putting up 20, 25 points every week alongside Justin Jefferson. Hey, we can hear you, Austin.
Well, he's a good handcuff for one of the other two. Like, if you get Addison or Jefferson, I recommend getting Osborne, because as soon as one of the other dudes go down, those targets are immediately coming to him. And so what do you think about Madison's value? With Dalvin Cook being gone, he's RB1 by a mile there.
Wide receiver 23 is crazy. I think that
running back
Madison,
23?
Yeah. I said RB23. My bad.
You said wide receiver.
Did I?
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
I think that it's okay. Whenever Madison came in, every single time that Dalvin Cook has ever missed a game in his entire career, if you weren't told that Dalvin Cook wasn't playing and you just started watching and you didn't know what number Dalvin Cook was, you'd think that he was still playing. He looks like Dalvin Cook.
Especially when they both switched to single digits.
Dude, I love that. I loved it more than anything.
It threw me off so hard. I hated it.
So hard. And it's not just the dreads. It's the running style. It's the elusiveness. It's the flow. It's like they look the same. So I think that the Vikings were genius to not pay $8 million to Dalvin Cook this year. And they would have had to pay him more if they just like kept him or re-signed him. So I think that Madison is way undervalued. Wide receiver, or this time I did say it. Running back 23. It just seems my top 20 running backs are all starting every week on my team, right? Every week, no matter what. Madison's starting every week on my team. Like there's not many matchups that I'm not putting him in. They have a great offensive line and a phenomenal offense. Like
sixth round. Like
he'll never get him that high again.
What we talked about last week, and then what we've got this week, you can get Joe Mixon in the 5th and Madison in the 6th. Like that, you've got 2 RB2s, but
what
if you stack out the rest of your value? Because Joe Mixon's ADP was in the 50s. So if you stack out the rest of your wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, boom, you can get Joe Mixon and Madison back-to-back rounds and fill out your running backs there. And then, just take a couple other depth running backs as you go. But
just looking at the rest of our list to talk about, Jahmyr Gibbs, running back 14, Khalil Herbert, running back 37, Aaron Jones, running back 16, A.J. Dillon, running back 32. Of all of them, I would prefer Madison. He has the best offense. He is going to get the most workload. There is no other running back there besides him. He is Dalvin Cook now in Dalvin Cook's first 3 years before he got there. So of all of those, like Madison is easily the best. Easily. Now he's the highest besides Gibbs.
Pound it into the end zone or anything like that.
Jahmyr Gibbs has to deal with Montgomery. Like he has so many problems. Hey, there's Austin.
He's back.
So we can hear you. I think Madison has the most value. Like absolutely, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I as far as definitely love Madison. That's like Jordan Addison, Alexander Madison. You can crush it with those 2 picks right there for value.
Especially if you're not the first pick. If you don't get JJ. Now, if you're the first pick, take one of those guys, but don't take both. Definitely don't take Addison if you have JJ. Like, it's just not worth it for you because putting them both on the field.
Because if JJ gets hurt, bro, you got that number 1 guy now on this
then
team.
I'd rather have KJ Osborne. I'd get KJ way later.
I like that. No, he can literally be your last pick of the draft easily. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ADP 178.
Now, speaking of the Vikings, that defense is going to be looking rough this year, I think.
Hey, they got Brian Flores in there, and I will not shit on a Brian Flores defense. Brian Flores, the head coach, I will poop on all day. But Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, I will give that dude his flowers every day of the week. That dude will mastermind a defense.
And he still has he has Danielle Hunter, a top defensive end. Like he's got pieces.
Harrison Smith came back. I expect them to upgrade in the defensive department this year. They're not going to be just allowing 300 yards passing every game. That was one of my favorite bets last year. Is somebody played the Vikings, you bet that quarterback over 250 yards that played against them. Didn't matter if it was Goff. Didn't matter if unless it was like Justin Fields. But I mean, almost every quarterback last year, it was guaranteed. That's not going to happen this year. I do not see that happening this year.
So do you guys have anything else to say about the Vikings?
That's all I got on the Vikes.
All right. So Lions, Jamison Williams is going to be suspended for 6 games because of gambling for sports in the facility. Idiot. Don't do that ever again, Jamison. Come on, man. Most valuable player on the team, Amon-Ra. Wide receiver 9. Can't believe that there's 8 wide receivers getting drafted above this guy. there were 16 drafted above him in
I
his
pulled
draft
the
class.
PPR ADPs too.
Have y'all
Yeah,
seen him?
yeah.
I had to go back and double check, and I was like, wait a minute.
You saw
like,
the one-handed, what he
I
was
was like,
doing?
yeah.
Just, bro,
I was like,
he's locked in.
PPR, is this right? Like he's ninth, like
Yeah.
ADP, but you're still
It
having
is
to
tough.
snag him in the second round at minimum.
Second round,
Like,
which is right where I want him.
and
And you
it's
get him at
early.
the end of the second round. That means you could get JJ, and then you could back it up with Amon-Ra, and
I
then
haven't seen that yet. People are snagging him earlier than late in the second.
Okay,
He's going.
he's gonna
right after the turn.
yeah,
he should be. That's what I want him at 13 to 15.
whoever's got those back and backs right there at the end of the first, if one of those isn't Amon-Ra, like, come on, dude, you've got to.
Yeah, in
He's just
in one of my leagues, I've got the 11th pick, and I'm absolutely looking at taking running back, wide receiver. And if Amaz there, then it's him. If Devontae Adams is there, it's him. There's a lot of guys that it can be, but
Yeah.
I'm taking him over most of them because he is so motivated as a person. Like it has
Literally.
nothing to do with what he does on the field now. It's the Amon-Ra as a person is not going to fail. It's an impossible thing.
You learn his backstory and his father and his brother and how he's raised. You know. He just
And
got
He
that
knows
mentality.
all 16 wide receivers that got drafted before him by memory. Where they were drafted, what school they went to, everything.
Now, as far as running backs, you got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs is ADP 37, running back 14. Montgomery is ADP 84, running back 31.
That boy's electric.
He's terrifying me, man. That's so high. Like, if Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't given any respect by the community, and you were able to get him in the 6th or 7th round, and like he's finishing up your starters, then that's one thing. But for this guy to be that good, I get that they traded DeAndre Swift, but I also get that just having the best offensive line in football isn't going to mean that he's the best running back in football or even a top 15.
But he had the best O-line in college as well, and look what he did with it. You know,
I love him as a player. I think the Lions were super smart to have him, and I'm excited to see what they can do with him. I just don't know. It's a bit early for my blood for a rookie. If he'd already been producing in the NFL at a high level, then like hell yeah, let's take him. But end of the 3rd round, like dude, that's
terrible.
rough.
It's not
For a
terrible.
rookie,
It's definitely a big gamble, though. It
is.
Like,
that's where it breaks it's not one of my rules, but it's just like it breaks that like feeling that I have. Like
because you
I
like to
didn't
go
take
off of consistency.
Exactly.
One of your biggest rules is consistency, and so
Exactly.
he's not there for you.
I didn't take Kareem Hunt in the 8th round in his rookie year, but if I would have won my league that year. There's all kinds of situations like that happen, but more that happen than that, there are guys that bust. More often than this guy's going to win my league is he's going to bust, and at 37th overall pick, that's just a lot of value that I'm giving up.
I agree with you, except for his landing spot and what he does in the passing game. The fact that he is looking like an Austin Eckler type running back, and he's playing for the Lions, a team who wants to buy all in on him.
So I'll say this: he's another one that in a dynasty format, I'm looking at him right away. I don't care about any of that. I love him.
I think yes, because of the landing spot. I like the Lions over the Falcons right now, but
no, I would still take Bijan in dynasty format, single season. I mean, right now Bijan's averaging out at running back 4 overall.
I don't like that.
Well, the way I look at their offense, and I look at their head coach with Arthur Smith, and the way they love to run the ball, and the way he loved to run the ball in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, and he's got a running back with elite capabilities like Bijan, and so I don't see any reason why this dude's not going to just storm out of the gate, and Tyler Algier just comes back to being the depth guy.
He's already sitting at 3rd on the depth chart. He's the 3rd running back
right now.
Yeah, But
Yeah,
like,
Austin, I read that report too, and I'm not reading into that too heavily. They drafted this guy super high, and he is an electric athlete at a position that's what matters. It doesn't matter what system a running back plays in. If they're a top running back, they're going to be a top running back. So
Patterson's
I
been playing great these past couple of years,
I still agree with you
and
that I
Algiers
think
looking
in
nice.
a dynasty, I'm taking Jameer Gibbs over Bijan. If I had like
Just
the
because there's
number
less people there.
two, I'm so excited because they're just going to take Bijan, and then I'm going to get Jameer Gibbs for free at two. So I I I I see Justin's point on like Bijan's going to be fucking. He's going to be good, but I kind of agree with you that in a dynasty format, I don't want either of them this year. Straight up, like they are too much skin that I've got to give up for the potential that Bijan Robinson is Ezekiel Elliott as a rookie. If he's not Ezekiel Elliott, then I just lost my league. Like that's
Yeah,
exactly what happened. I lost it in the first
Bijan's
round.
he's going in the first round
Yeah,
every draft.
yeah. So
Five,
there's a
6%.
lot of people that are going to be willing to jeopardize their entire draft based off of one player. And the first round's not the most important round. Like, if we're being real, the first round is such a big gamble. A lot of those guys get hurt, and you can
So
still
many.
win. But you're fighting
They're
uphill
so
at that point,
used.
man. I would much rather have a safe pick like Eckler or even who's going after him? Chubb.
Nick
Chubb is
Chubb.
going after
Bro,
Bijan.
late in the
That is
second.
the safest freaking running back of the
It's
last
the
5
it's the
years.
receiving it's the receiving aspect because
But
the
that's
whole
boom.
NFL is changing.
I don't
Like
want bust in the first round. I don't care about boom. I'll get boom in the fifth round. In the fifth round, boom matters to me more than bust potential. Because in the fifth round, I've already got my core. And it can, if this player doesn't work out, it's okay. I only spent the fifth round on him. I've got my sixth, seventh, and eighth. One of those is going to boom. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I want consistency in my first 5 picks. After that, I'll take some risk, but not that early, man. Not that early. Is
I
there
think
anybody else?
Jameson is a great pick late in rounds just because he's got that suspension. He's just someone who could potentially be a league winner with his boom
You're
aspect.
looking at 14th round or later for him. I think he's going to fall even later because I think people are going to forget about him. I think they're going to be at
Exactly.
that point and they're just going to totally forget. I think Sam Laporta, tight end 19, he's a rookie tight end. I don't draft rookie tight ends. Not in the draft.
The way I look at Laporta and even Jameson coming back for the suspension, that yes, they brought in Marvin Jones Jr. and yes, Khalif Raymond had a solid season last year, but those dudes aren't even popping up on ADP. Like you're
Nope.
getting those dudes off the waiver wire after the fact. So with Jameson's game breaking ability and Sam Laporta as a tight end, he's going to get targets as that safety valve. Like
We know Jared Goff
they're
loves his
going to
tight
treat
ends.
him like TJ Hawkinson. Like so for me, I'm with you. I wouldn't draft Laporta as like my starter, but I
But
would
if you need a
absolutely
guy,
pick him up and just wait for the value to come to him. Even if
It,
anything, you get him. People start to see some kind of week to week value, and you have somebody who's tied in either shit the bed or they waited too long, and you've got a trade piece there. He's your backup tight end, anyways.
if you're staying diligent with the waiver wire week to week during the season, then I think that players like Sam Laporta will fall to you. And it's hard to say fall to you like that because it's not the draft anymore. But what I mean is that he's going to have a struggle for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And everyone's going to freak out. And because they spent a 14th round pick on him or a 13th round pick, they'll just drop him. They won't care that his potential is so much. So I like to not pick up Laporta, to get someone like KJ Osborne, to get these safer veteran guys. Even for tight end, it's hard, man. It's so hard to take a tight end late and expect anything from them. But I would say,
So where Laporta's going at 19, the dudes going before him right now are Jawan Johnson for the Saints, Gerald Everett, Greg Dulcich for the Broncos, Aquanco for the Titans, Higbee, Dalton Kincaid, the rookie from Buffalo, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz, and Pat Fryermuth.
Now
Yo,
He's
Kincaid
going
Walker
is
average at 10.
knocks.
And Cade is the one that I look at as like having the most of a rookie. Like Sam Laporta is the one I was the most excited about as a prospect for my team. But as far as like the one that got drafted to be a starter, I think Kincaid is looking like less of a risk. I still don't want to take a tight end that's a rookie. Not really, not in my draft. Now, I get what you're saying, Justin. Like, obviously, they're not going to be your tight end one. And if you took him as with your last pick or something, it's not going to be a big deal. I just hate having to sit on Sam Laporta to wait for him to show his potential. Whenever there's these veteran guys that you already know exactly who they are, like Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett's a great example of he's solid. He's never going to be tight end 5, but he's also never going to be tight end 15 plus. He's always going to be right around that tight end 10. So he's not going to get touchdowns, but he'll get receptions, he'll get yards, he'll get me points.
He'll get you 8 to 12 points a game. Nothing crazy after. Like
Yeah.
I had Gerald Everett for like the last 6 weeks of the season last year.
That's the
like-
dude to have.
So
I
that's my point.
loved him.
Is Laporta, if I hold on to Everett, and then as soon as Laporta becomes available after week 6, I want him now. Now I want him because I want to wait for that pop. As soon as he pops off, then if he continues to pop off, now I know I can start him. All I need is 2 weeks of 12 or 15 plus points for me to feel confident that the team is drawing up plays for this guy and he's going to continue to get targets.
Do you guys before taking tight ends out of fantasy and replacing it with like a flex position? No wide receiver, running back?
No.
Because like
I don't
tight
like
ends
that.
are the most annoying position to go for in fantasy. It's just you have Kelsey and then everybody else. Maybe Mark Andrews, but like once
but
Kelsey
it
retires,
still
like the
adds
position's
that element,
gone.
like a matter of looking at the matchups, who's going to have the advantage, like, you know, things like that, to where it's the same thing as like kickers. I mean, yeah, it'd be awesome to have
a lot of
Justin
people wanna
Tucker
take
and
those
just
out,
know
too.
you're getting 12 points a game, but it adds those new elements. I mean, you look at a guy and yeah, he's a kicker, but if he's on a team that they're able to push the ball down the field, but they suck in the red zone, you're probably looking at a lot of solid points from that kicker. Patriots kickers are great because Bill Belichick is not afraid to just get the 3 points.
So, as far as the tight end position, a tight end being drafted in the first round was never a thing until Rob Gronkowski. And it still didn't become a thing until like him and Tom Brady were just legitimately, if you got both of them, then you were going to win your league. Like, that's what it was for a couple
Now
of
it's
years.
Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey.
But my point is that as the league grows, as you get more players that are coming in the league, like Sam Laporta, like Greg Kittle, like these guys that are coming from schools that are starting to become tight end universities, and they're starting to develop these players at a younger age. Kelsey's putting up the tight end U every year now. So I think that the position is going to continue to do this. It's not the hardest position in football, but I want to say that it's probably one of the hardest positions on the offense because of the versatility it requires. You have to be able to block a defensive end that is bigger and faster than you, while also being able to outmaneuver a linebacker and a safety on routes. You have to be able to do all of these things at the most athletic position available. I mean, tight end's impossible right now, and everyone wants to talk about how running backs should be paid more.
It's a fun position.
Austin's
So,
back to glory days.
Jared
I was
Goff,
just
quarterback
dreaming back
17.
there.
I think this is the same thing as Kirk, but it's even more egregious. Quarterback 17 is disgusting. He finishes like
Deserves it.
I looked at that and got so wide-eyed when I was sitting
Bro,
there doing my notes, and I was
y'all
like,
don't remember?
quarterback 17, bro.
Y'all don't remember? You just said it earlier this pod, man. He doesn't do good.
Who?
What?
Jared Goff?
Bro, why did I hear Kirk?
oh yeah,
Kirk.
I said like Kirk.
They had
he's
similar
also being
seasons,
undervalued.
65%
Yeah.
completion apiece. Both threw for about 4,500 yards.
But I would
Both
much
threw for
rather
29 touchdowns. But
Goff
Goff
because the consistency.
threw half the amount of interceptions, which is what you love to see. Had
Yeah.
a higher quarterback rating, which is what you love to see. And for some reason, Goff is going lower. Now, bring that back to the fact of what I said earlier. They don't have many solid targets to throw to
Besides
like the
Amon-Ra and
Vikings do.
Jamison Williams.
Exactly. If Amon-Ra goes down, his value tanks.
Hey, now they got
So
Marvin
to me,
Jones
that's
back.
where Goff and Amon-Ra is almost an elite stack for you if they're healthy each week.
He's gonna
Agreed.
help out
I
with
like
those
that.
6 weeks though, Marvin Jones Jr.
And you can get them so far apart in the draft too, like so far apart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're taking in the second round. You get Amon-Ra. You don't have to take Goff until
The
11th.
10th round, if you just want to make sure you snag them before
Maybe-
somebody else,
Maybe one of the safest late quarterbacks to snag.
Yeah,
Seriously.
like him and Kirk are going way too late. Like those are the two dudes to where like if you notice somebody is not drafting a quarterback within the first 6 rounds, watch how they draft, and I almost bet you money Kirk or Jared Goff come off of that board for them,
Exactly.
if not both.
I
That's all I
don't.
got on the Lions.
I don't
Did
love
y'all
being in
see-
that position of like I haven't taken my quarterback and everybody else has,
Hate
and there's
that.
only a couple left. But
I
man,
feel like
if
I
you
lost my
can-
league that way.
if you can ride the line long enough, just long enough, and get your guy late enough, you get so many guys before them
You do get
that are just
such a nice core.
you're stacked, dude. You've got 3 or 4 running backs that you want to start every week. Like your team just
It's a
it's a
problem.
different.
It's a nice
It is.
problem to have. Have y'all seen the video of Dan Campbell? He's fucking locked in. He put half a fucking tin in his mouth.
That man's
buzzing.
always locked in. I'm never worried.
It
Never
was
worried
such a
about
cool
Dan.
video though.
Yeah, he used to coach the Dolphins, man. He was our interim head coach for Philbin, right? Whenever Philbin got fired.
Yes.
And I loved him ever since. I mean, the guy's just... I love what he did, that he went and studied under Sean Payton for a couple of years, and then just went and started his own team up in Detroit. Now, I think the team... So the Packers is like the team that, everyone expects to still be third best. I honestly think the Bears are my bet for third best.
So you're pulling Packers last.
Yeah, I think so. So Fields, ADP 45, quarterback 7. Running quarterback, we've talked about his weapons already that he has added this year, that he's going to be throwing more screens, that he's not going to be required to make reads and throws down the field and do all these things. So they're going to simplify things a lot more for him. With the type of athlete he is, I mean, it's kind of crazy not to draft him. I don't think that I'm drafting him in the 4th round. I'm going to try to work him a little bit later. I really want to get my 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and then I'm looking at my tight end and my quarterback. Without that first 4, though, my team will never feel complete.
So with Fields, the one thing I'll say with him, like granted, yeah, you're having to take him in the 4th, but honestly, if I'm able to get my receivers or 2 pass catchers, whether I take a tight end early or not, and a running back or 2, like I'm cool with Fields, because Fields, just with his rushing, would have been running back 7 last year.
Yeah.
He would have been a top 7 running back just with his rushing. And then you just add in the bonus of 17 touchdown passes and 2,200 yards. Like
It's a risk aspect whenever you draft a
2,200
running quarterback like that. Any other
going
running
that high
quarterbacks.
too in the 4th, it's a very high, but it's also one of those to where, if the projections hold and he develops like he should in his next season here, that's a pick that could very well win you your league.
Which that's what I was going to talk about, is the fact that he is like the only quarterback in the league right now that we've seen develop since high school like this. Like he had a show on Netflix that he was on, and then like we saw him all throughout college. Like we've seen this guy through and through. Like we know what he's made of and what he can do. And now he's finally has some weapons there, and they're like actually building a team around him. It's nice to see.
You're not at all worried about off the field with him. Like,
Oh my
that
God,
he
no.
is a solid character guy, that like he's going to continue to do the right thing. He's not going to go John Morant in the middle of a season and you just lose him. So I think though that my issue still is some of his weapons. I think that DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney is solid. It's so solid. And Khalil Herbert and Donta Foreman, I mean, that's okay. It's an okay backfield. Khalil Herbert looked solid whenever he was backing up Montgomery last year and the year before.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't necessarily seen him. As excited
He's
as
the
I
reason
am about
Montgomery's
Madison,
gone.
I'm not as excited about Khalil Herbert. Like, I'm not.
Really?
I didn't see that
is
as
my,
much.
That's my absolute favorite, like late running back to steal is Khalil Herbert because of what we already know he can bring you.
Yes, Khalil Herbert played like 3 or 4 less games than Montgomery last year. Only had about 100 less yards. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Didn't really get much work in the passing game, but most of their touchdown work went back to Montgomery.
And not just that, Fields. Fields is going to be such a big, like, okay, Kirk Cousins is never going to take a touchdown away from Alexander Madison with his legs. He might get 3 all year. And I'm not saying that he's never going to take one, but it's not once we get within 5 yards, now my chance of scoring a touchdown is 10%, and Fields went up to 90. I don't like that. You need touchdowns from running backs, or you need to catch the ball. He doesn't do either very well. That's my issue with where you're drafting him.
You can get Jerick McKinnon, Herbert, or Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah. Charbonnet.
So that's who you would take.
He takes it out of the backfield.
Risk factor because it's a rookie, though.
He receives the ball more, and they went up and got him after getting Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's already gotten a little bit banged up. Charbonnet, I'd want him. So we're looking 10th round in a 10-team league. I think Charbonnet's good there. I have no problem. And I'm not saying that I don't want Khalil Herbert at the 10th round. I'm just saying that I'm not jumping at Khalil Herbert at the 10th round.
No, I would look at Donta Foreman in the 16th round. I mean, Donta Foreman, 17 games played, almost 1,000 yards, 4.5 a carry.
Has been a starter for a little while.
He did all that while trading out with Chuba Hubbard and Christian McCaffrey when he was still in Carolina. So what their signings tell me is the Bears are going to continue to lean on the run and let Fields work his legs, and that is what will open up the screen game for them. And we saw it in the first preseason game. Like, we already talked about it. And so for me, I think all of that is more of, like you said, they're putting these not elite pieces. I mean, DJ Moore is dope.
He's
but
a top
they
10
are
receiver.
putting these key pieces around him. You have Cole Kmet already, 7 touchdowns for him last year, and then they bring in Robert Tonyan as well. So their 2 tight end set is going to be legit.
That's interesting.
And they paid Cole Kmet, so they want Cole Kmet there long term. Even though he failed last year, his expectations.
He was still the top receiver on the team.
But he failed last year. And what he was supposed to do in fantasy, he was so bad. And I agree with that. That's a good point, Austin. Their offense looked so bad. Wasn't that the last year of Matt Nagy?
Like, what happened?
Or was that the first year of the new...
That was the first year of Eberflus.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how Darnell Mooney performs over there with, him getting a year older and with DJ Moore coming over. Like, takes away a lot of the pressure off, and that opens him up because he is an elite athlete. But
wide receiver,
him as well as Claypool.
That's 161. Like, I'm with you. I would Darnell Mooney. He's one of I think DJ
for the first time in his career. I think that Darnell Mooney is way above his ADP. He has been, because of how good of a player he is, everyone's been waiting for it. It's like Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is so good as a player, but his opportunities are so crap that you don't ever want to take him where he's being drafted. If I could get him 3 rounds later, he's so much value, but you can't ever do that. You finally get Mooney at heck of value. I mean, DJ Moore even at wide receiver 22, 5th round, that's so much value. He's going to way outperform that, even if Fields doesn't throw for 4,500 yards. He's going to throw for more than 2,500. We know that.
Well, Mooney gets to be wide receiver 2 now, which is where he's more suited at. He's not a wide receiver 1. He's legit, but he's not a wide receiver 1.
He's open a lot.
And I think it helps him out a lot. Him going in the 16th round towards the end of your draft, that's absolutely a steal. Like, you've already got your entire roster filled out, and you get to
He's
add
right before KJ Osborne.
potentially what could be a top 30 wide receiver at the end of the year fantasy wise. Like, I'm absolutely in on Mooney this year just with that value alone.
KJ Osborne is the third receiver and probably the fourth or fifth target on the Vikings, and he's being drafted 1 round later.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting legitimately the second or third target on the team.
Now,
Khalil Herbert is not going to take that much.
His problem though is he hasn't been able to churn out a full season yet. Like last year, he only played 12 games, and so that's why his value is taking a hit, rightfully so. You can't trust him on the field.
Yep.
But where he's going at in the draft, if he is healthy, I have a guy that I can plug into my flex spot, and I'm not really too stressed out about it.
Claypool's
I like the Bears, like you said.
Phil.
I think that I think they should finish above the Packers this year, and I'm all in on. I'm rooting for Fields hard. I want to see him progress, and I want to see him, progress as a passer because he's electric. I'm all in on Mooney. I'm all in on Kmet. Like, I love their team. They've got a good, solid young squad. Seems like they're all just, chip on the shoulder type of guys that they haven't got their shot yet, or like Fields, he's still trying to prove himself.
They're very young. I think that that's the right way to put it. They're very young. They're developing, and we haven't seen the work that they've been able to put in this offseason yet and how much better they got. I think that DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney are the two that I look to really surprise us, especially because of DJ Moore being there. I think Darnell never had someone to play off of to make him better. He was always just the best guy in the field, so what am I supposed to do to be better whenever all I can do is what I'm able to do? So literally. I think iron sharpens iron. Nobody. I mean, Cole Kmet is the best receiver on the team. Packers. I think the first thing we talk about is the running backs. That's what everyone wants to know about. Are you guys drafting Aaron Jones at running back 16 and AJ Dillon at running back 32?
If you draft Aaron Jones, you have to draft Dillon. And that's why I would stay away, is because I know as soon as I draft Aaron Jones, somebody is looking to snipe Dillon earlier than round 8 where he's going right now.
Yep.
Somebody will overdraft him simply because they immediately have a trade piece for you. Or as soon as Jones gets hurt, they've got a guy that can immediately carry the entire load for the team. So
be even better than Jones was, because he'll have 100% of the carries.
You need to go ahead and be prepared to take Dillon in like the 6th or 7th round. You're going to have to overdraft him, but you have to guarantee that you do get him. Now, Aaron Jones still scares the shit out of me. Only 2 rushing touchdowns, but 5 receiving touchdowns. Now, it's not Aaron Rodgers, it's Jordan Love. That offense is going to look very different. Mainly because LaFleur does not have to conversate with Rodgers every week on the game plan and what are they wanting to do, what is he like, things like that. Jordan Love, it's your first year starting. Just take it and go. Like, I'm giving it to you. I'm telling you what we're doing. Trust me.
He's been sitting for 3 seasons.
And I'm excited for LaFleur because you're actually going to get to see him be a head coach this year. Like, he doesn't have one of the best quarterbacks of all time to lean on and know, oh, well, when in doubt, Aaron Rodgers will just call his own play and throw me a touchdown and I'll just look like a genius. Like, so for me, I don't think he's a bad coach, but I'm very interested to see what he does and how he's been able to progress Jordan Love as being the backup for the last couple seasons.
They obviously, I think that Aaron Rodgers leaving had more to do with Aaron than it did with Green Bay. I think that Green Bay would have been happier keeping him for 1 more year, but he was ready to be out. With the way that the media has been treating him like the bad guy, just everything, I think that it was smarter for him to get out. So I think that LaFleur would have liked 1 more year of Jordan Love. Now, the hard thing is that this is Jordan Love's last year of his contract before... This is his 4th year. So next year is, but had they they already took the team up the option?
No, they did the very smart thing. They extended his contract by 2 years.
Nice.
So he gets this year and gets next year, and then after that, they can release him or
Nice.
franchise tag him if need be. But they did a very smart thing with his contract, and he did the smart thing of signing it. You're getting guaranteed money on the table. You're getting your stuff picked up.
And you get to
You've
still
got 2
prove
years to
yourself.
prove it. You've got
Yep.
two. I liked Jordan Love's skill set coming out of the draft. He's got a
It was
strong arm.
simple.
He's
Yeah.
got Austin, what you like to look for, he's got the Pat Mahomes style of being able to throw different arm angles, being able to sidearm it a little bit. He's got some mobility about him. So I'm not completely out on
very
Jordan Love.
intriguing.
He's somebody I'm looking at as getting in the back end of my draft as my QB2 just to see what happens with him. I like Jordan Love.
That's a nice one.
In a
but it's
super
going
flex,
to
he could be
a
really
very
interesting
a
because he's a
huge step
starter.
back.
And he's on a big offense. In a super flex, I might take him a little bit before quarterback 26. It's just a little bit of a reach for a player like that because of the offense. The running game, Aaron Jones's value is because he receives the ball so well.
Now, the counterpoint to that, though, is Jordan Love's first year starting. You do expect them to lean on both of those running backs a good bit this year.
Agreed. But I think the play action is going to help him a lot. And also, the two receivers that they do have, we haven't talked about yet, Watson and Dubs. Both were great receivers last year. Both looked like home run hits in the draft. For second and third round guys, I don't think that there is a player that is like Christian Watson in the size, speed, and athleticism that he possesses. He is a one of one in the league right now. There is no 6'4" guy that can run the way that he can run. So that is scary and terrifying. And then Dubs is a very good route runner with solid hands. He looked like Randall Cobb reincarnate.
He's taller though. He's a lot lankier.
He's 6'2" instead of 5'11", whatever.
With losing Lazard, Cobb, and Tanyan, the Packers have 1,800 yards of offense they have to redistribute. Now, they drafted Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, so 2 rookie tight ends coming in. Luke Musgrave is the only one that was really showing up with any kind of an ADP, but he's definitely one of those. You leave him on the waiver wire, you just kind of watch him, see what happens with his production. But for me, they're another one to where they, for the most part, as far as that offense, they are very young. And so to me, that makes them very hungry. I loved what I saw out of Watson last year. I loved what I saw out of the games with Dubs. Now, you only got 14 games of Watson, put up a touchdown in half of them. And Dubs, you only got 13 games. But like you said, he showed the route running ability. He got 3 touchdowns. So for me, it's one of those to where, like I said, those yards, those targets, they're going to have to go somewhere. So with Dubs going in the 17th round, that's a hell of a snag for you very late in your draft. And Watson going at,
it's
5th round, that one terrifies me. He's a very boomer bust.
That's one of my favorite picks in that round, along with Amari Cooper, those kind of receivers.
I would rather Amari
If you go running back, and you're looking for a nice wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, I'm safe. I feel safe with Christian Watson because of, like you said, Colby, that athletic ability alone. If you just put the ball in his hands, the man's going to do work with it.
A few years ago, whenever Robbie Anderson was still playing for the Jets, the only value that he had was that once a game he was going to run as fast as he could down the field. They were going to throw it as far as they could, and there was a 40% chance that he would catch it. And if he did catch it, then you just probably won your week. And if he didn't catch it, then whatever. He catches it 40% of the time. That's enough for us
He was either getting you 3 points or 23 points. There was no in between.
So if Watson's that, then at 55 overall, way too high. But if he's able to not be that, if he's able to be an actual 10-target receiver, then that's a steal. I mean, he's going 3 picks after DJ Moore's going. I'm definitely trying to get DJ Moore before him. But they're both in very similar situations. These teams are both very young, with very young quarterbacks, with new offensive systems that they're running, and we don't know what they're capable of. That's why you're getting some of these guys so late, even though they're high talent guys. I just think that I would rather go more than Watson. And then, like Justin said, I would rather go Dubs. So I would love like Mooney and Dubs as my last two receivers. I mean, I would be so happy with that.
Bro, yeah. Like you have two bench guys that you can put in your flex spots at any point throughout the year. As long Mooney more than Dubs, just because Mooney has shown it. But yeah, I'm with you. Like the value that you're able to get at receiver late in the draft, like just with the amount of talent that's come in, it's awesome. But the Packers just fantasy wise, they're fourth, and I think record wise, they're going to see a big step back, and it's going to be a big eye-opening season for Packers fans. So buckle up. I don't know exactly if you will finish fourth. It's going to be a fight with the Bears, but you got a couple years down the road before you're back competing for those divisions.
No, I think Jordan Love's going to shock a lot of us. So far from the clips I've seen coming out of camp from like a lot of quarterbacks, he has thrown the best ball. Like surprisingly, like Herbert to me has thrown the best ball I've ever seen up until this point. But like lately, Jordan Love has been throwing it like I've never seen a quarterback throw it. Like he just has that touch on it.
He's got the ability. It's how much has he developed between the ears the last few seasons?
I want to take you guys back in time. It was probably a little over a decade ago. It was longer than that. But the Packers had a Hall of Fame quarterback that had taken him to 2 back-to-back Super Bowls and was still playing at a very high level, but he was not playing at the highest level. He threw a lot more picks now than he had in the previous years. He looked like he was basically just chasing stats. So they said, hey, we don't want to pay you anymore. We're going to let this young guy that we drafted in the end of the first round come in, and we think he's pretty good. And all the fans freaked out. I can't believe you guys are letting Favre go.
Then Brett Favre left and went to the Jets.
And brought them to a AFC Championship game that year. So proved in a lot of ways that he was still
a flat circle. Because Aaron Rodgers, now it's the Jets. Now, we're not saying Jordan Love is Aaron Rodgers, but I'm with you there.
There's a potential for it. He's been sitting for 3 years.
I won't be shocked if he does shock the world. Because for me, it's okay. You developed mentally the way a pro should develop.
Exactly. You got to do the thing that no one else gets.
A legend in the sport right now.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
Aaron
under Tom Brady.
I always have a small affinity for the Packers for whatever reason. I just always like them. But it's going to be a struggle for them.
Well, I mean,
Aaron Rodgers,
they won the first Super Bowl of all time, so how could you not?
Aaron Rodgers might be the only quarterback that didn't start in his first or second season that's starting right now in the NFL. Because like Herbert was his first season, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes were their second season. Every one of these quarterbacks was their first or their second year. They were starting.
Well, that's because pretty much right after it got to where almost every rookie was starting within their first year, to where it comes down to the fans are clamoring for it. The owners don't want to lose money. They want to keep people in the seats. Oh shit, we're losing ticket sales. What do? Hey, let's start the rookie this week. That'll sell out the house real quick. Like you said, if everyone in football world says there is an absolute benefit for a dude to start. But I also see the benefit of gameplay experience. So to me, Jordan Love, you've sat long enough to where if you come out and you just look completely inept at running an offense, that's going to be a problem. But I don't see that's going to be the issue. I think he's going to end up finishing out the year as a middle tier quarterback. I don't think he's going to be freaking amazing at anything, but I also think he's going to pleasantly surprise some people to where, hey, Packers might have something to work with for the future here. So if they do, awesome. If not, you kind of deserve it. You've had 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Just suck it up for a little bit.
No, for real. For real,
back to back 30 years. Just went from one to the next.
That's lucky as fuck. I definitely think he's got a lot of value as a secondary quarterback if you can get him there.
Mm-hmm. Super flex, stuff like that. Yeah, it's like we were saying.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We read all the comments. You can say whatever dirty stuff you want. We won't ban you. Tulsi Rose Teas funding this episode again. Go to tulsirosetea.com to get all your tea and tea needs.
Follow the pod on Twitter at @ProFootball_pod, which it's also my Twitter now because Hulk_PFP got suspended for whatever reason, and Elon never emailed me back. So we're just rolling with the pod Twitter there.
Damn, son.
Yeah, but for sure, hit the subscribe. Like we said last week, if we get to 500 subscribers, I will personally buy somebody a jersey after we do a little drawing. Jersey of your choice, as long as it's not the Jets, Bills, or Patriots. No, I'm just playing. I'll suck it up and I'll do it. If we get 500, I'll suck it up. And
It just can't be Dalvin freaking Cook. All right, guys. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Who do we got next week?
The AFC E?
No.
It'll be the AFC West.
Yeah,
West.
I was going to say West.
The Chiefs.
Yeah, I like that.
Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
Raiders.
Another solid division. A lot of players that are going to be taking at their position, but a lot of guys that are way being overdrafted. So we'll see you guys again next week. Thank you.